Hello everyone, and welcome to this fantastic event that I've planned. Those of you who were helpful enough, let me put this here to make sure I've got everything the way I need it to be. Okay, just so I there's the problem. There we go. I am using the new camera now as a webcam. For all of those who were so gracious as to donate to get one, and I've after a little bit of back and forth with Canon, I've gotten it to work all now. There's a lot of wires around me though, but it is and I have no lights at this point. I'm just using the capability of the camera, which is obviously superior to my iPhone and the like. So welcome all, and once again thank you to everyone who made this camera possible. A Canon EOS M50, which is kind of ranked very high amongst folks for use as a webcam. So the subject today, I've just kind of glanced through the comments, and it seems like everybody's kind of interested in it. Not kind of, very interested in it. As am I. For those of you who don't know, I started my spiritual journey after I had my that really first big opening as a metaphysical healer. And the term energy healing and any of that had not arisen yet. There was just metaphysical healing and spiritual healing, which I was fortunate enough to learn it in a way that it really corresponds to the latest thinking about the universe as consciousness rather than as matter. And that was the competing subject for today. Was I going to talk about consciousness as the fabric of the universe, or was I going to talk about energy healing as practical? So I went for the practical one this time. I've actually made a few videos already about what consciousness is, and as many of you may already know, I have gone and created a whole bunch of entirely new YouTube channels in an effort to divide up the material, because I've spoken on so many different things that it can be very confusing. So if somebody comes in, sees one of my videos on energy healing, and then subscribes, and the next one he gets is about meditation, and the next one is about what's the nature of consciousness, the unsubscribe button is not that far behind. So I will eventually have them all split up. I'm now putting all my tapping videos on the tapping channel. That's what it's called, the tapping channel. First, and then I'm putting them over here with a little note. Please go over and subscribe to the tapping channel, because obviously it doesn't have a lot of views right now. It doesn't have a lot of subscriptions. So those of you who are really interested in tapping, by all means go to the tapping channel, and you'll find where you can subscribe. The non-duality channel has not launched yet. I've got about 5 or 6 videos in there now. And when I get to about 10, I will then start dripping it out and start anew. Energy healing. I actually have a whole new series that I've been working on for a while, called "For the Love of Healing," because I think second to my interest in understanding the nature of consciousness, perception, and non-dual reality is my overwhelming desire to alleviate suffering and heal. And if the two are in conflict, I'd really have a struggle. But they're not. They're not at all in conflict. As a matter of fact, there's two sides of the same coin. That's the whole nature of non-duality, is that in essence everything is absolutely the same. But in expression, they're very different. It's like two clouds in the sky. If they go together, you don't say, "Oh, there's clouds and there's two clouds in this." Oh, look, there's that cloud and that cloud, and they hit each other, and there's a big accident, and the police clouds are coming. They become one cloud instantaneously. They simply become one. And then, at some point or another, they split off. Then they appear to be two. The same is true of the mind and the body. Although here's how it works. Consciousness is at the root of everything, right? And when I mean that, let's not make it anything extraordinary and out there and all of that. It is simply your first person everyday experience. I mean, every day we experience things, right, that can't be accounted for by a purely materialistic view of the universe. I'm going to adjust the shutter speed a little bit because it's a little bit light. There we go. That's a little bit more realistic. Your experience, right? When we can analyze the lips and tongue and taste buds and smell and all that, but that doesn't explain the smell of a rose or the taste of an apple. The totally subjective experience that is completely individual, and yet at the same time we all have a similar experience. I think we can safely assume that when I taste an apple and you taste an apple, we're tasting pretty much the same thing. I mean, I'm not tasting it and it tastes like an apple, and you're tasting it, it tastes like a roast beef sandwich. We can kind of assume that there's similarities because we can talk about it and compare notes and the like and say, well, we're kind of experiencing. So we've got this weird thing here where we're experiencing things really uniquely, individually, like nobody else on the planet. And at the same time, there's this commonality. There's this unity in it. Now, the thing to note is that while there is this unity, you and I function very differently. We have different lives. We have different interests. We have, different partners and friends. We have different families, and yet we can find this commonality, right? Like we're doing right now. This commonality. We love this subject. We love exploring our own nature and how to heal more effectively. The same is true for our minds and the body. They are one fluid flow. They come from the same place. Their essential nature is identical. And in fact, if you look at your own experience, at any time, if you've done any of the meditations with me, that's exactly what we do. You find that the experience of the mind, the flow of thoughts and memories and pictures and that sort of thing, and the feeling of our body, both the emotions and the sensations, that the content of the experience is extremely different. The nature of experiencing is absolutely identical, and the experiencer is the same throughout. But this difference in function, consciousness is not static. Every aspect of it has a unique expression of it. So we want to kind of think of consciousness as this isolated thing, localized somewhere up here, that's getting all this sensory input. And in fact, that's only an appearance. Consciousness is actually a non-spatial field of subjectivity. Don't bother taking that one apart. I'm not going to go off that far on that. But let's just look at the way our minds function and the way our bodies function. And there's obviously a connection, right? We all know that when you're in love, the whole world looks beautiful. Every perception is gorgeous. Nothing bothers you. And you feel healthier. You feel alive. There's more energy in your body, right? And it's also true that if your body catches a cold and you're flat on your back for a while, there's not a lot of creative energy going on. All that energy is being redirected. So there's a connection and a relationship and a play between the two is really quite obvious. It's almost like yin-yang. They're almost like different aspects of the same thing, which is exactly what they are. But they occupy different domains. I will pillow back here up so I get some lumbar support. They occupy different domains. And the domain is simply an area in which they function. It's like a country, right? They've got their own laws and rules and borders and that sort of thing. And when you go into that country, you obey that country's rules. You go, and then you leave and you go to another and you obey their rules. And everybody's got rules, right? Well, the same thing is true. Your mind functions in one way and has different kinds of rules for how you, as that which is aware of the mind, interact with it and tame it and make it subservient to your higher interests. But the body has a completely different way of functioning. And what's most important, if you want to understand the practicality of energy healing, it sees the world differently. It does not see it like the mind, which is why we can be so convinced, God, I'm going to do this in my life, it's going to be really wonderful, and all of a sudden everything gets in the way and you can't make it happen. That's because there is a disconnect between the way the mind sees things and the body's reaction to those very same things. So the mind could say, this is the greatest thing in the world, and the body could say, no way. Are you kidding? And conversely, the mind can say, oh no, I shouldn't do that. And the mind's going, what's the matter with you? Let's go, let's go, let's go. Bringing them in sync, bringing them into the natural flow between the two is what energy healing is about. Now, when I talk about healing and energy, and I talk about it in different levels, right? But it's not really a level. It's kind of like, let's go back to my little cloud analogy from before. While I take a sip of my tea. If you look at a cloud, it's beautiful and it's billowing, and we see, faces in the clouds and cities and all sorts of things, angels and the like. But if you zoom in on it, what do you find? You find a bunch. You find yourself in the middle of a cloud. Right? It's a completely different experience, a completely different level of perception. Keep going, and suddenly you find a bunch of little water droplets, so small they don't fall. They're actually lighter than air at that point. Until they get close enough together and collect, they get heavy enough, and you get rain. But we're talking about the same thing, but we're talking about it in different dimensions. Now, so I will talk about the mind, I'll talk about the emotions, I will talk about the sensations. I'll then talk about the nervous system, which is in fact a different way of looking, a more essential way of looking at all the rest of it, because the nervous system is the whole part between thinking and emotion, feeling and sensing, is this thing that's processing it and turning it into perceptions, which is, of course, all we have. Right? And what we're perceiving isn't the world as it is. We're not seeing things as it actually is. Any more than when you're looking at the screen, you're actually seeing me. Right? You're seeing this representation of me. If you look at the file folder on your desktop, on your computer, you can't go anywhere in the computer and find a little file folder and open it up and kick little papers out. If you actually see what it really is, at one level, it's a bunch of ones and zeros. I used to do computer system. I learned how all this stuff works. It's a bunch of ones and zeros that's completely unintelligible to us. Just then get into hexadecimal, which is another base that nobody understands except computer weirdos. But you keep going, you see a bunch of hardware. You get down to these little electrons, these little switches turning on and off. And then this current running through all of it. And the current's identical. Everywhere you look, the current's identical. Now, we're diving in because if you see the mind and the body, they all come down to this thing called the nervous system. But the nervous system comes down to another level, which I call the energy system, which is simply where all of this stuff is flowing. And there's actually another level underneath that and another level underneath that, but I won't go into that. When you're concerning yourself with healing, energy healing, you're not concerning yourself with fixing. You're concerning yourself with the natural flow of energy that we call health. When the energy flow that makes up the body, the mind, the nervous system, that makes all the rest of it up, that is the essence of it when you zoom in. If it is flowing, and that's its nature, is to flow, in its normal healthy channels, you get health. You get the picture of health, right? You get the entire sequence of life, the growth, all of it. When something obstructs or distorts or disrupts that flow in some way, the energy either is contained, stuck somewhere, right, so it can't do its job, or it gets misrouted. It ends up like, it's like you put a big, huge rock into a creek. It'll eventually flow up and go off who knows where. But it's going to flow. And if it can't flow, the enormous amount of pressure. I mean, think of the amount of concrete it takes to hold back a river for a dam. I mean, it's just absolutely enormous. The same thing is going on in us. Those blocks, those disruptions are what we call trauma. Those are the things that become so intensely fearful for the body that it says, I have to block this off. The energy cannot flow this way or I'm really going to get hurt. And so it does it. Now, I can assure you that this is the body doing it because it happens before your mind is even functioning. You've got no intellectual capability whatsoever. You can't even talk, and it's already going on. Which is why when we try to address it merely through talk therapy or psychoanalysis and a lot of the various self-help techniques, they only address it through the mind. Even things like manifestation and law of attraction. When I was practicing metaphysical healing, it was primarily through the mind. And I was curious as to why it didn't always work. Because it's supposed to always work. And I said, well, I must be doing something wrong. And I double down and I do it harder and I put more intensity in it. And I had a lot of success at it, but something was off, something wrong, which is why I left all of that behind and started the next phase of my search to find out what was it. And it took me a long time to reconnect to the body. First off, because in a lot of spiritual traditions, including the ones from metaphysics, the body is just kind of this artifact that you're going to transcend and get rid of. And it's not important. I bought that, which is easy to buy because I had been so severely traumatized as a child. The last place I wanted to be was in my body. Stay in your head. Stay alert. And my body was in a constant state of alertness, detecting everything, which I notice it still is. It's unbelievable how much stuff I notice going on around me. I'm going, what is that? My body is still on the alert because my mother was crazy and you had no idea what she was going to do in the next moment. You had no idea. It could be really loving, but you always knew that it was a setup. In a couple of days you were going to get whacked. And so it was always this state of alertness that was looking around. So the energy never flowed correctly. So it's very natural, of course, for us then to disconnect from that and want to go into our heads. The psychological term is disassociation. And it has to be addressed through the body. Even a lot of people who are coaches of EFT don't understand the dynamic of that process by which the body must come to the conclusion through an experience of an environment that it is safe to start rerouting that energy back into its healthy channels, which it knows where they are. And it knows how to get there. This is why you don't need to be fixed. If you create an environment that is exactly the opposite that caused the disruption and the trauma in the first place, the energy system will respond to it, the nervous system. And as a result, the nervous system, the sensations, the emotions, the perceptions, the mind, all of it will begin to flow naturally, because that's the source of it. That's where the source has been cut off. So if you can do that, if you address it there by creating a safe space, that's what it's all about. Because it was a danger. It was the body sensing danger, severe danger, that caused it to go whoop, like this, redirect, squash, suppress, stick down in the basement. In the first place, it was that sense of I'm not safe. The only thing you can do is create an environment that's so safe that it goes, the environment, it's safe. I detect, because remember that your nervous system is totally adaptive. Totally adaptive. It's like water. Put it in a goblet, it's shaped like a goblet. You take it and you pour it into an old shoe, it'll take the shape of an old shoe. No convalescence, no argument, no preferences, just yep, whatever. It automatically detects every shift in the environment, and if it's consistent, and this is important, if it's consistent, it will begin to adapt to it. And if that environment is safe, suddenly you'll feel things just falling away all by themselves. You don't have to do anything. It's not a huge project. And this works on everything. It works on psychological issues, emotional issues, financial issues, which is just kind of another energy body, right? Relationship stuff. It's all the same artifact or symptom of the essential stuck energy. So if you make it safe, if you take the rock out of the middle of the creek, it'll just flow down the creek bed that it was, and it knows exactly where to go, and it knows how to find the ocean, which is the ultimate of our spiritual pursuit, is to realize our oneness with all things. Okay, how long did I spend on that? Oh dear. Hopefully that was worth it. People have been arriving and not leaving, so I guess that's okay. I actually have to move the screen around to see, because the camera's on this little setup I've got here to get it at a good height, and it's in front of the screen. I have to look around it. So everybody, time to take a sip of your tea, and as I begin to go through and look at all of the. Say hello to everybody, all my new people and my old friends. Roberto, it is always so wonderful to see you. And Rosario, my two guys in Madrid. There's Ava in Poland. Marcel, hello everyone from Germany. Title sounds very interesting. I hope I got your interest. I hope. In some ways, it was a bit. I was skipping between making it, very kind of baseline, so anybody could understand it, and some of the more depth of it, because it can go really, really, really deep into the whole process, and it can't be bypassed. I tried the spiritual bypass thing. That spiritual end run. It doesn't work. You really do have to address this. You have to address these things and free that energy, even though at some point you'll be completely free of it, and you'll see that the entire thing was a dream and it never happened. For some reason, this is the fact, but we have to accept our experience and lives as an ordinary human being and deal with them as such. Don't ask me why it worked that way. It wasn't my design. Hello, mystic poet. Good to from the north of France. Thank you for your time and your teaching. What is fear? And why is it painful to feel fear? What is this kind of pain, and why it hurts when it is not a physical pain? I love you. I love you too, Faith. And hi, Mary. I skipped you when I went down to saw Faith's question. Well, fear. Right. Let's just look at fear first, all by itself. Let's zoom in on what is fear. Fear is a physiological condition. When the body detects a danger and it prepares itself to run away from that danger, it's shifting all the physiology, withdrawing blood from everything that isn't important, putting it all into the muscles. The breathing gets faster, so there's more oxygen. Focus goes off of whatever you're doing onto looking for the escape route, and that's the feeling, right? That's what it feels like to us. So it's perfectly natural. The problem came when we humans got to the point where our imaginations were imagining fearful situations that weren't really there. But the nervous system really can't tell the difference. It's just reacting, oh, it's danger. And it goes into that state even if there isn't anything there. And if you experienced it a lot when you were a kid, to the point where it was a common experience, the nervous system will have built into it the assumption that there's always something to fear. And so it will be on another level of alertness. Because it's just like, it knows it's there. It's absolutely convinced it's there. It's just I'm just going to keep my eye out for it, right? And in that at that state, the last thing it wants to do is feel safe, because it thinks if it feels safe, my guard's going to go down and I'm going to get whacked. So even when you are safe, you don't feel safe. And this is part of the process of us developing intelligence and consciousness and self-awareness. Is that this is what's going to happen. And at first we're very clumsy and ignorant in how we're using that mental capacity. So that's why it feels uncomfortable to feel the fear. And part of our emotional and spiritual growth is learning how to discern when this fear is actually really present and when it's an echo from the past. Right? Or something imagined that I've projected into the future. Oh, it's going to be really bad. Things are never going to work out for me. That will create a fear, and that's kind of an intellectual or mental belief. But then there's the echoes from the past that just assume fear, and if you can discern the difference of those, and don't bundle them all up at once, because they do have a different qualitative experience. You can begin to step back from it and go, wait a minute, this fear I'm feeling is completely inappropriate for the circumstances of it. It's not really that scary. Matter of fact, right now, there isn't any danger. So what I'm feeling right now is an echo from the past, is part of that energetic assumption that I am in danger. So that assumption was caused because I was consistently in danger. So let me just blast this thing with so much love and safety and acceptance that it begins to detect that it's okay. Now, if you fight it, if you try to get rid of it, right, which most people do, self-help, I'm going to fix this, right, through sheer willpower. First off, you'll fail because it's so much better at this than you are. But secondarily, it actually digs its heels in because that's a threat. But the recognition of it in love and acceptance goes, finally, it's safe here with you. So remember, we've disassociated from the body. So our experience is almost going to be as if it's something else, even though it isn't. It's an aspect of consciousness. But we've turned it into this foreign part of us that's objective and made of matter and sitting out there, none of which is actually true. But that's the experience due to this soul fragmentation that is taken place. So we're turning around now and looking at that very same mechanism. Oh God, thank you for keeping me safe. You did a really good job. I wouldn't have made it out of childhood were it not for you doing what you had to do. So let's see if we can work together and consider the possibility of being both safe and free at the same time. Wouldn't that be nice? And that's how I would approach it. Sometimes just like that, sometimes in a meditation, sometimes I got some other little exercises, sometimes with tapping. But that's always the intent behind it, to create the environment in which the energy detects it safe, and so it begins to let itself flow into the healthy channels, which it knows what they are, knows how to get there, knows how to create them. We don't have to do any of that. That's why the process of integrating this is non-existent. It just happens. You do your job, it'll do its job. So hopefully that answers it for you, and hopefully that's a useful thing for everybody to hear. This tastes really good today. I don't know why. It's the same mate I had before, but I don't know. Anyway, hello there, Carl in Ireland. Anthony from Melbourne. Wow, it's late there, isn't it? Good Lord. Yeah, well, wait a minute. No, it'll be mid-morning. Yeah, you're like 14 hours. Yeah, it's like the middle of the night for you. Wow, well, thank you. Thank you for coming. Although, you're probably just up late and watched me. But if you stayed up just to listen to me, wow, I got up. Thank you. I'm honored. Sally. Blessings from Sally in London. Kuhulika. Namaste GP from India. Same namaste to you. Ava, once more. Previous chat disappeared somehow. Namaste, dear G, and everyone. No, it didn't. Maybe it did for you, Ava, but it was here. It was definitely here. I saw it anyway. Chat, came back. Yeah, we saw the first one. Dorte in Denmark. Hello, Dorte. Good to see you. Jennifer. Hello, Babaji, and my beautiful family. Hello to you. Jennifer, I'm not posting "It's happening for all." There's a log in the video. Your voice is happening before your video picks it up. Thought I'd share in case it's a small tweak in the technology world. Is that happening for everybody? Or is it just her? Because it could be a glitch. It could be here, because this is the first time I've tried this setup. It could also be YouTube. That happens sometimes. Oftentimes, if I download a video that I've made on YouTube and I'm going to edit and do something with it, I will oftentimes have to adjust the voice and the sound because they're off. So hopefully it's not too annoying. If it is, just I can't change it now. So close your eyes and just listen. Nothing to see here. Move along. Nothing to see. Jennifer continued. Oh, the beautiful mind, like ice baths. My mind tells me no all day, yet if I accidentally get the cold shower, my body enjoys it. Yes. Exactly the case. So you can see that they're out of sync. There's a conflict there, right? That conflict needs to be resolved. And most importantly, because you all here are also interested in getting to the spiritual depths, I think probably the most profound thing I discovered was that to get to the depth, down to that other dimension I was talking about, you have to go through the body. You can't run around it. The mind cannot grasp this stuff. But the body, because it is more sensory, it is more immediate, right? it's a much better platform in which you can plunge into the area that's totally murky, where you can't see anything, you can't touch anything, there are no concepts there, there aren't even any forms there, and yet you can look directly at it. And if you do long enough, things begin to appear. But you cannot do that while your body's in a traumatized state, fighting everything that's going on and the like. So in addition to actually getting healing, it opens up that inner portal. The body is a portal into spiritual reality. It's not a means in and of itself. It is a portal, right, that you go through. Because underneath the body and its current state, and the nervous system, and then the energy system, there's this other level. In Buddhism, they refer to it as a repository consciousness, or storehouse consciousness. You dilute that down, and you get things like the Akashic records and the like. And this is the in the Hindu, this is the realm of the samskaras and vasanas, which are these deep patterns, right, that resemble the traumatic pattern, the programming that the nervous system got into with these assumptions. But these are so deep, they go lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. Below that is the realm of pure wisdom, of pure being, of pure love, of pure undifferentiated consciousness. It is Buddha nature, it is the Buddha land, it is the Buddha mind, it is shunyata, the great emptiness. It's also been referred to as the great perfect mirror mind, which is just a beautiful phrase, I think. So, yeah. Well, we just went all the way down, didn't we? Which is not actually down, it's in, right? The mind wants to visualize it as, like going down in an elevator, but it's more like zooming in on something through a microscope. And you get more and more fundamental, more and more close, like they have with science, until matter disappeared, and all there are fields, quantum fields that they say is non-spatial. It is everywhere. It is not in time or space. It's everywhere at the same time, and that all matter is a temporary wave that appears in these fields. It's a beautiful analogy, and it borders, and they keep looking for the unified field theory, right? The problem is consciousness is the unifying field. But for some reason there's this sticking point that it's got to be something out there, that matter's got to be preeminent. And I'm very grateful that very early on in my training when I learned how to do metaphysical healing, it was not really a formal training, I learned that matter was just a concept. It wasn't a real thing in essence, that it was simply a concept of what is perceived. So anyway, I don't know how I got off on that, but I did. Tomas, GP, I've often heard that consciousness awakens to itself across numerous reincarnations, gradually more and more, until all vasanas are burned away and there's no longer any impulse for consciousness to take a form. Can we be 100% sure, or is it just a belief, assumption? Great question, Tomas. Because experiencing happens by itself, and it is nothing but thoughts, feelings, sensations, and perceptions, absolutely, that arise. Now, thoughts, feelings, and sensations, which then form perceptions, right? That's the whole, all we have is perceptions. Because we don't even know what's out there causing them. So we have no idea what, quote-unquote, the world, as it actually is. So anyway, the feelings arise in the now, and that is actually what we call as this, man, really good, yes. I realize that awakening itself is not performed by persona, but consciousness itself, and therefore is not a property of the person. Wow, you're getting A's so far, Tomas. But I experience periods of flowering consciousness, and then also periods of ignorance. Welcome to the club. It usually comes in waves. In any case, it's not always linear. if it's the consciousness that awakens to itself and not the persona, is it possible that even awakening itself is not linear? And maybe there will be many more reincarnations in ignorance in order to keep playing the game. In other words, is it 100% certain that we're not starting from scratch again? Never? If another reincarnation happens, it necessarily happen at all. I hope my question makes sense. It makes perfect sense. And you've gone just about as far as your accurate, your very precise and very good reasoning can take you. You've come across it really is quite a paradox, because the persona is simply the ego, the sense of self is a construction of the nervous system, of thought, feeling, and sensation. It's a construction of it, which is part of its nature, is to create identities, which it does all the time, create egos. So obviously, because that is itself a creation, it is just it itself is nothing but a collection of thoughts, emotions, sensations, memories, pictures, etc. That can't possibly wake up because it's not sentient. There's nobody there, right? But I think the only flaw you're making is you're thinking of consciousness as something that went to sleep, rather than the sleep and the awakening both happening as an experience to the ever-awake consciousness. So when I say ever-awake, I have to use words, because it is beyond awake and not awake. Right? We can only use the word awake in terms of asleep, right? Ignorance in terms of wisdom. They are two sides of the same coin. You can't have one without the other, and without both of them, you have no experience whatsoever. This is the real nature of the true duality, which is simply the consort of non-duality. Because even the word non-duality requires duality in order to define it. When it really folds into to not two, you see that there's this play. There's this essence that's beyond it all, and that essence is what's hearing my words right now. But there's still thoughts that says there's a consciousness that's creating this. There's no consciousness that's creating it. It's a spontaneous act. There's no act of will. It's like a jazz player. It's just happening because it is the nature of consciousness itself for this to happen. It isn't planning it isn't thinking about it, because if consciousness thinks about it, it is immediately manifest as reality. Right. So put all of your attention at this point simply on that sense of I am. That I am does not incarnate in the first place, let alone reincarnate. All of the incarnations, the falling into ignorance and waking up, your experience of the flowering of consciousness and then periods of ignorance are all appearing on the screen and are not actually touching you, who is watching them and is aware of them and in fact loves them. Because this is the true nature of consciousness, is that it is both. This is the only way I can put it, because language is just so clumsy. It is both this unchanging, absolute field of non-localized field of everything, total emptiness, total beingness. Its nature, though, is to perpetually express itself in an ever flowering, ever unfolding, ever involving self-expression. A self that is so inexhaustible, no moment is ever like any moment before it anywhere in the universe. And so if you realize that even that is just playing in front of the screen, and begin to love it, rather than this very subtle idea that somehow I'm going to not start from scratch. And even in the dream that is appearing, you don't start from scratch. It continues. It falls away with the memories and everything, because because the memories don't really belong to the reality of who you are. They belong to, they're all part of the thing, of the stuff that's on the screen. Is this helping you? God, man, you are so close. Where do you live? Pekinka. You're so very, very, very close. Just keep bringing the attention back to the I am. I have a video where I did a reading from the I am from Nisargadatta that you might find very useful. I don't know what the link is right now. If somebody knows what it is, please put it in here. And I'm actually doing a workshop on the Ribu Gita, which is another, really based on the Upanishads, which is, the Upanishads are the basis of which, from which every thread of non-duality has sprung. It was written right about the time or a little bit before Buddha, and it's regarded as the crown jewel of the Vedas, of Indian philosophy. I mean, it's extraordinary, and I'm going to be doing a whole workshop / retreat on it on Sunday. If anybody's interested in hanging out with me for a day, HTTPS, what is it? Homeschool, what's / what? It'll be Thinkific, right? Thinkific.com/courses /Ribu, IBHU. That's it. Somebody click on that and tell me if it works. I'm doing it from memory. But you'll find there are some of the Gitas, the songs, right? This is the song of Shiva. It's the teaching of Shiva, which is the representation of pure consciousness, the pure absolute. And simultaneously, because remember the other aspect of Shiva is Shakti, which is the creator, is the dancer in the world, is the creator of all life. All of it arose from it. So the entire universe as it exists has poured forth out of you. It is you. In the non-dual path, it has to start with us first disidentifying with what eventually is seen to be nothing but a collection of thoughts, feelings, and sensations that had this other thought projected on it, that this is what I am. If you turn from the thought of I am to the sense I am, you're now heading in a completely different direction. And all of that can begin to fall away, and you begin to taste the true meaning of non-duality or not-two-ness. So hopefully that answers it for you. Let me know if it didn't. Jennifer says, when I work with energy, it's to feel it move. Movement is beautiful. I can feel when it's not moving. Oh, very good. But don't to feel it move. Yeah. Don't take it upon yourself to make it move. Just let it do whatever it's doing. Sometimes it's very still. Think of it like a river. Sometimes it's gushing, it's the rapids. Other times it's just kind of floating by. Other times it actually stops. There's little eddies and just sits there for a while. It kind of, and then falls over one, off it goes again. So just let it flow. Marcel, I love how you talk about including the body. I notice that every time I'm reactive to circumstances, my consciousness is usually everywhere, but not in the body. And remember, it's the body that's feeling. Right? That's where the center of feeling is. It's not here, right? And the body is so much more than we think it is, but I wish I can't go into it. I will be going into it. But because of trauma, that's the right word. We were disconnected from who we really are. We had an energetic disconnect from our real nature, and which was also a disconnect from our body. We tend to be in our heads. So when some circumstance comes up and I'm feeling a reaction, I don't go put my attention in the body where the reaction's actually happening. I start going everywhere else but. So looking for some kind of, great solution. But where the solution is right here, the thing that reacted knows what to do. But something got in the way of that normal process of something happened, and it knows exactly how to respond to it. Something got into the way, in the way that didn't allow that to happen. That's the trauma. So it had to devise other ways, and we also get disconnected, and now our head's thinking about it. So the head's doing a job it was never intended to do, which is why it works so poorly. Beautiful. Carl. GP, is it the body that causes us to experience oneness once the mind is out of the way? If we remain in this sense of oneness for long enough, will it dissolve disease? The body is not causative. It is an aspect of consciousness, though, but it's purely reactive. It's getting a little darker, so I'm going to raise up the shutter speed a bit. That's a little better. And it does not experience oneness in that sense. It experiences its natural flow, which is health, and it recognizes it, and its natural state of happiness and well-being, and resourcefulness and power, which frees the mind for its natural process, which is creative expression and creative manifestation and creating. I mean, look around. Everything here in this room is created, right? The plants were, but the pots that I put them in these are all the creative power of consciousness, which is reflected in the mind when it is liberated from doing the job it was never meant to do. The body's job is not the realization of oneness. Only consciousness can do that, because consciousness is the oneness. Now, that we can't conceive of oneness. You have to recognize that. The mind cannot conceive of oneness. It can't do it, because the mind can only function when it has two things. So it can describe this in terms of that. Go to the dictionary and look up any word, and what will you find? A whole bunch of other words to describe that word. And sometimes you go, what's that? And you got to look that word up, and maybe another word, before you can finally come back. Oh, that's what that means. So that's the way the discursive mind works. That's part of the process. It's part of reason. It's part of communication. It's marvelous as long as it's only doing the job it's supposed to do. So oneness becomes the experience of consciousness experiencing itself. Now, the healing of disease requires getting to the root of the disease, which is always some kind of energetic pattern. Now, whenever I say that, I have to give the disclaimer: I am not a doctor. I cannot give anybody any kind of medical advice. Yes, yet I can quote doctors who will say exactly what I'm saying. That all the modern diseases, everything that our adult life is subject to, cancer, heart disease, every kind of form of cancer, ALS, as well as emotional problems, psychological problems, depression, and even violence, is all created by this stuck energy that is called trauma. So the healing of a disease cannot be the motivation or the desire. This is one of the main reasons I quit metaphysical healing so long ago, because I could not get anybody to give up the desire for the focus was always the end result, right? And now it's law of attraction, and it's the same kind of thing. Forget about Forget about the symptoms of the disease, right? I know it's unpleasant. It's really horrible, right? It really messes up with your life and restricts you. But if you see that restriction is something that was put in place by the nervous system in order to keep you safe, because whenever you went beyond a specific line, you got hurt. And that energy eventually turned into a physical condition. One of the things that's really interesting is women who cannot say no, who take care of others and just think of others and not themselves, are 4 times more likely to get breast cancer than those that are able to say, no, know what me time and self-care is. And say, no, that's not for me. In other words, to be able to make boundaries. They're far less, and when they do get it, they recover. It's fascinating, but the evidence is there. This wasn't published in, Yoga magazine. These things are published in Lancet and New England Journal of Medicine and the various real medical journals, that this is a reality. And so if we now say, okay, well, what part of me still feels so unsafe that it cannot move into its natural healthy channel? That becomes the inquiry. So even if you use tapping, which I would recommend, it can't be the motivation to heal. It's got to be the motivation is, what do you need, body, from me, in order to be able to let go of this, feel an environment safe enough to let go of this and start moving back into the channels you know about. I will do anything up to including nothing. I'm here to support you. This is consciousness loving its expression, because that's what the body is. It is the manifestation of consciousness. Your body is what consciousness looks like from the outside. That's the way Bernardo Castro puts it, which I absolutely love. The universe is what you look like, consciousness looks like, when looked at from the outside. Of course, there is no outside to consciousness, but it's a point of perception. But it's not what you look like to yourself. I don't look like a bunch of trees to myself, and yet I realize those are all me. So, does that help, Carl? This is really important when it comes to healing. That the ultimate manifestation of a particular condition can't be the goal. Because all the focus will then be on the end result and not on this moment in the process. And that inhibits it. It actually gives the end result and the disease more weight than the actual process that heals by the body feeling safe enough to let go of everything it did to keep itself safe when it needed to. Hopefully that helps, my dear friend. Okay, Jennifer, totally worth it, Baba. Thank you. Good. Dale, hello, my friend. Robbie in Romania. Nina in Kenya. Hello, Nina. I saw somebody else, I think, just all of a sudden disappeared. Oh, there it is. CM in Moldova. Wow. This is fantastic. All these wonderful places. Kenya. Nina. Mburu, is that how I say it? John, hello GP from soggy Portland. The cloud metaphor, the two is always one and then becomes the many. Yeah. And you know what's even more fascinating about the clouds is because it's totally environmental. If you see two clouds, right, that look like two clouds, they're not two clouds, right? In between those, where you see the clouds, is exactly all the same amount of water and everything. The only difference is it's a little cooler here. There may be an updraft or something happening. It's a little cooler here. So the water molecules come together more and become visible. When you really see what it is, it's absolutely amazing. It is one thing. Sometimes it's invisible, sometimes it's visible. Sometimes the molecules are spread very far apart, like in Arizona in the desert. Sometimes they're always close together, like here in Seattle, where it's always cloudy. A quick second here to reshuffle my chair. Okay, so yeah, it's when you really look at it, it is always, as Buddha pointed out so brilliantly, so long ago, what we see is a function of causes and conditions. As the causes and conditions shift, so does what appears. What appears is not a thing. There are no things. There are only processes going on that are a subtle and complex and relentless interaction between causes and conditions. All what appears as matter is an interaction of causes and conditions. That's all it is. You know, we used to think that the subatomic, the particles, right, the basic particle was like, you know, little billiard balls. That's what I was taught in school, right? Even though it was known in quantum that wasn't the case, it simply hadn't caught on yet. But to find out that, in fact, all there is are these waves, like in an ocean, and when they're observed, the wave compresses, shoop, the energy goes this way. They call it a collapse, and for billions and billions and billions of a second, there's a thing we call matter. It's all causes and conditions. So you think of the sky as simply a setting in which various causes and conditions take place. And sometimes it's a thunderstorm, sometimes it's a hurricane, sometimes it's just a beautiful breeze that you could just kind of run around in. And it's not a thing. I did a whole class on that, I think called The Flow, to try to drive this home. It was on energy healing, because you can't really do energy healing. Oh, this is great, fits right in the subject. You cannot do energy healing unless you grasp that that's all there is. Everything is a flow of, and we don't even know what energy is, right? I mean, so it's a flow of something. It's kind of like consciousness has ripples in it, and those ripples are what we experience as our life. And the weird thing is, it has a continuity to the ripples, the self-generated, self-modulated ripples in it. And that, if you grasp that, then you see that everything is in constant motion. There are no static items. You're not static. You are nothing but an enormously complex collection of various kinds of flows. And when you're in an environment that's completely unnatural, like childhood trauma, or our current economic system and the way the world is being run, and environmental degradation and the like, the opportunity for it to get distorted and disruptive is just huge. So, yeah, enough of that. That horse has been sufficiently beaten. So thank you for that, John. You're Portland. That's kind of almost with us up here in Seattle, in terms of amount of cloud. Matter of fact, we celebrate. We dance and sing when the sun comes out. Face. First, thanks for your description of fear. It makes me love it, appreciate it, and see it as magical. Yeah, it is. Yes, the little girl needed to be aware of a lot of things, and the fear did her a great favor. And what about that feeling of pain when we feel fear or regret or shame? Regret and shame are tools to keep us in line. there's no inherent pain in fear, because that's not its job, right? The pain would only come because I don't want to feel it. But if instead you go, oh, there's fear here, got it. My body must think there's something here to fear, so let's look closer. Look closer. Those are the two words that was told to me by that disembodied whatever it was that shattered my mind, and I had my first big opening. Look closer. Look really close. And I encourage everyone to do that. The pain isn't in the fear, it's in a reaction to the fear, which it can actually intensify the fear, because the fear is looking for a way out. When you're a child, there is no way out. And so what does it do? It suppresses itself and assumes there's always going to be something to be afraid of. And the little girl needed to be aware of that. That's just the way it is. So so just be with the pain the way you would be with the fear. Oh, the pain too. They all have the same function, no matter what it is, right? It is regret, shame. It is all the nervous system, all the various tricks of the trade to keep you safe, which means to control your behavior and actions. You understand that? That's its job, because the only thing it could do to keep you safe was to control your behaviors, your feelings, your thoughts, and your actions. Because you had no control over the people, right, who were reacting to it. You were too small, too vulnerable, too weak. So the only thing it could control was you. So how does it do that? Shame, guilt, horrible self-talk, anything it can to make sure that you do not do what brought you pain before. And if you realize that, oh, even shame, it's you again, trying to keep me, oh, thank you. Thank you. Maybe we don't need the shame anymore. If we do, cool. I'm cool with it. You're the boss. But what if we don't? What if we can actually be free of shame and only be afraid when there's really something to be afraid of? And we can drop this assumption that there's always something to be afraid of, because there have been times when there hasn't. I would literally be having a conversation with your body, with the energy system. When I just was, actually. I mean, that's how I work with people. I don't talk to the mind, I talk to the body. People think I'm talking to the mind, but I'm not. I'm talking to the body, because it's the body that has to let go, not the mind. So, Brent, hi from LA, everyone. Love you, G. I love you too, Brent. Jennifer, it's okay, LOL. Just didn't know how it all works. I'd listen if it was... Oh, okay. I'm here with you all. David and Elaine, and dear G, it's interesting to realize that we usually don't experience the world as it is, but our reflections on it and the constant narrative of the mind that accompanies our experience. We also tend to experience the body as a series of sensations in the same way, which can be distorting and misleading. Yeah, our sense of the body, brilliant. Our sense of the body is as if it is a thing that is generating sensations. But if we look at our actual experience, our direct experience, all we experience is the sensation that we have abstracted into this thing we call the body. And the fact of the matter is, you never experience the world as it is. It's not possible for us. Bernardo Kastrup uses this beautiful example of a pilot. Imagine you're in a plane. You're the pilot on the plane. You can see everything. It's a beautiful day. You can see for hundreds of miles and the like, and it's all wonderful. You're flying you're flying visual, VFR, visual flight rules, from my days as a pilot. But then a storm comes up, and you're right in the middle of the clouds. You can't see a thing, right? All of your attention now goes to the dials on the firewall in front of you. Now, this little needle doing this has a connection to the world as it is, but is as different from it as a rock is from a nosebleed. There's just no correlation in terms of actuality. It tells you what it's doing. It cannot tell you what it is. So it's enough. We can navigate, right? You can get to a place where you can land safely, right? If you're skilled at flying on instruments. If you're not, you're in trouble. But they have no resemblance. They are not the world as it is. They're an instrumental representation that helps us navigate it. That's our senses. Remember, our senses also developed over time, evolutionary, to look at it like that. And they all of them developed, including the mind, as for what? To run away. So you don't become somebody's meal. You find a meal and you find a mate. Right? It's very object. We're looking for objects. And so this is the way our mind works. It's objects. The world, the universe as it is not an object. And so we have these representations of it. Even if it's the CERN linear accelerator, it's only a momentary representation. And the mistake that science makes is that the description of the behavior of something can tell us what the thing is. That is the irrational leap that science has made, that all their numbers and descriptions, which you can do beautifully, like the dials on the firewall of the airplane, but these cannot tell you what it is out there. The dials cannot tell you at all what it is. We're just kind of... So here we are, literally flying blind through our five senses that have evolved in direct relationship with the world as it is, whatever that might be. So it can do it. It can navigate because it's part of it. It's all part of the same thing. But it has no concept, no clue as to what it actually is. It's so obvious that the science of consciousness, you might say, but I don't want to use that word because science has got a certain kind of meaning these days. But you can see that very early on, going all the way back to the Vedas, 5,000-10,000 years ago, it was recognized, the limits of these senses, which is why all these various kinds of practices of meditation and self-inquiry and eventually Advaita Vedanta emerged. Because you can't. There's no way you can through the senses. Right? But since you are consciousness, and everything is experienced by consciousness, that's the only place you can find the answer. Because you can't know it through the senses. So if it can be known at all, that's the only place it can go. And that's where the huge discoveries got made. Oh my God, it's all consciousness. There's nothing but perception. There is no world out there separate from the perception. But this consciousness that is perceiving is not localized. Each of us is but a point of view. Is a seeing of the whole from a particular perspective, simultaneously being the whole. So the whole that is consciousness is perceiving the universe, created the universe through focusing attention through what is called GP or David or Elaine or Faith or Jennifer, or your name here. Hello, my name is, right? So, yeah. So the only place truth can be known is in the direct experience of consciousness and seeing perception as perception. You get that, you fall on your knees in praise to the Buddha. It's just like, my God, he saw the whole damn thing and described the whole damn thing. So much for being an innovative teacher. I love you all. I just took a second to look out the door. I have the window, and I've got these beautiful trees. A lot of them are evergreen trees, so it's green all year round. And I actually just, I'm moving in about 2 months, a new place, a really nice overlooking a huge lawn that goes up to a lake. I have access to the lake. It's going to be, I'm very excited about it. So you'll be seeing new sets. New sets coming. You know how I like to play with my sets. Let's see. Faith, doing the EFT tapping you are sharing in the tapping channel, that's great. I saw a video about tapping for the body shame, which is great. Yeah, I did one of those. I'm going to move that over. I'm going to move all of my EFT videos that I have on this channel over to the tapping channel. So video tapping about. Would like to ask for EFT tapping phrase for tapping when I look at my body and I see that some places accumulate extra weight on itself. It's not about comparing it with someone else or the media body image. I understand it was for some trauma and beliefs. How to help the body let go of extra weight. That's the right way to put it. We're helping the body let go of what it doesn't need. Right? So it's not like a special EFT phrase. What I would do is I was tapping, I'd go, okay, I'm totally open and I'm listening. What's you know what? There's even another way that I've been using it very successfully with people. It's based on a thing called focusing by. It's kind of meditation, Advaita, Zen, focusing and somatic experiencing kind of rolled up into one. And what you do is simply sit, put your attention, clear everything out, clear a space, right? All your problems, put them in little boxes. You know, carrying too much weight, I need this and that, I'm feeling this way. You put, okay, this box is a label, right? We're not going to get rid of anything. It can all be here, but we're just going to clear out a little space here. And you take that one box, let's say it's extra weight, and you come here and you set it, and you open it up and take it out. You stay aloof and say, okay, I'm just going to be with all the feelings that are around carrying this extra weight without thinking about them. Just the feeling. It's very powerful to begin to explore the feeling itself. Because notice how I see some places accumulating and it's not about comparing. That's all the mind talking about the feeling. Go to the feeling and hang out with it. That feeling is what we call the body, but there's a whole lot of depth there. And you'll find that it's very nuanced. There's a lot of different aspects to it that you probably didn't notice. And if you do it, and patiently, because you're going to be looking at a place where you can't see anything, and your mind's going to go, okay, come on, that's long enough, we're done. And I even set a timer and just sit and stare at this place where you can't see anything, where you don't know, and just feel into it. It's actually even more than sensation or emotion. And just watch what happens. And a very good question to ask at that point is, okay, carrying this extra weight, what's the big picture? What is this really all about? It's a question that wants to get right to the heart of it. But you're asking the body, right? That is, you're asking a deeper wisdom. You're asking 500 million years of evolution, which is a lot better at this than you are. And then you're letting it respond. And it could take a while. Or you may get something right away. And something may come up and go, and it may be a word. You go, okay, this is a word. But the word isn't it. Remember, words are representation. But it gives you a handle on it, right? So that you can remain engaged. Oh, okay, it's like this. And then you go, okay, is this the best word? You kind of feel into it. No, I think there's a better word. We've all had that experience, right? You're talking to somebody and you say something, oh, that's not the right way to put it. It's like this. That is the felt sense I'm inviting you to explore. Okay? Do that for a while, and then we'll tap on it. Love you too, Faith. Oh, there's the link. Hopefully it worked. Enlightenment World Network put it up there too. And homeschool and oh boy. Oh wow, it went everywhere. Oh wow, that's interesting. Because that Enlightenment World Network is one of the places I broadcast to, and Facebook did not allow any of my comments to go there. They would only go to YouTube. Anyway, okay, well, that link goes to 404. Damn. You know what? Take a ESSA. Try just course. Homeschool, don't think of it. Try just course instead of courses. Course/reboot. And tell me if that works, please. Thank you, Eveline. I need somebody else to do the technology. Anyway, okay. Sevi Stacker. Hey, IAGP, and been a while since I've attended a live stream. Happy to be here. Happy to have you as always. Dale, how often do you meditate on oneness? What's the longest you ever go without it? And what adverse effects do you feel when this happens, if any? As I understand non-duality and my true identity more, I tend to slack off on the meditation, but definitely feel more anxiety about my life and future. I like the invitation on freedom meditation, but wondering if anyone has recommended form of it which is most pure and to the point for those who have heard it many times. Well, that's lovely. Lovely question there, Dale. And for me, meditation is no longer a formal sit my ass on the cushion and do it. I do it every day, probably 3 times a day. I just, first thing in the morning, last thing at night, and sometime during the day I'll just stop. I might chant a mantra. My current favorite is Aham Brahman Isma Brahma Isma, which is I am the Brahman self. Which is a really nice way to train the mind, which is what mantras are all about, which is a good thing. nothing wrong with training the mind. When you notice yourself slacking off, look into the feeling behind it, right? We're trained, and I was certainly trained this way in spirituality. You're slacking off, double down. Do it more. Which is really kind of just forcing it, right? Trying to force the donkey. Instead, I go, normally I would want to meditate right now. So if you don't want to do it, investigate the not wanting. Don't make yourself do it. I'm really lenient. I'm quite the liberal teacher. I say, you're going to slack off, right? But be intelligent. Look at it. Go, there's a lot of resistance to me sitting down and meditating right now. Let me make that the meditation. That's my practice. Remember, there are no obstacles on the path. The obstacle is the path. And right off the bat, you can see how you need to go, oh, you know what? I have to accept my humanness. I have to really embrace my humanness, which sometimes just doesn't want to do it. Damn it, I just want to go have a margarita. And go, oh, that's part of me as well. So let me embrace that. So that then becomes the focus of attention. Because unless you dive directly into it, go right into these things, there's no freedom from them. Right? What happens is that when you really love them, they transform into freedom. Right? That energy, which is restrictive and disinterested and maybe restless and bored or whatever, when it becomes the object of your loving attention, when you become a loving, empathetic witness to it, the environment has shifted. When the environment shifts, the energy begins to adapt to that shift, and it will change. So to discover the oneness of all things is simply put your attention on that which is the most fundamental, which is your own existence, and learn how to do that. Even what I just did with faith by putting your attention on the problem, like the slack. I want to slack off. Well, okay, let me give my full attention to that feeling. What is that feeling? What's that about? And let it reveal itself to you. And ask a similar question. Well, what's the big picture here? I clearly want the freedom that meditation promises. At least they all tell me this is what I get from it. Right? And yet I don't want to do it. A real conflict here. I'm going to honor and love myself enough to look at this as a very natural phenomena that I'm experiencing right now, and then feel into it. You're asking the question, what's this all about? What's really happening? What's really going on here? And then you stare into a place where you can't see anything. Just kind of this murky gray area. It's like you're looking at a gray wall, or an abyss, right? Where you can't see a thing. There's a feeling. There's something here. There's something here. And that eventually allows you to stare directly into the sense of your own existence without blinking. It's a great practice for that. Great preparation, but it is therapeutic and healing in its own right, because it brings you to a different place, and you'll know you got somewhere when suddenly there's a feeling of well-being. You may have had no revelation, no insight, no memory, nothing. Just suddenly there's a feeling of well-being, and you go, thank you. I worked with one guy, it was so lovely. Really struggling with a lot of things. He had, and during the process of doing something like this, we first did some tapping. We did some body movements. Then I started this. Just kind of, okay, well, let's feel into this. And memories started to appear. He remembered being a little kid. He remembered it's all my fault, taking in trouble. He finally remembered to the point where his mother threatened to commit suicide and blamed him, and he took it all on himself. And he kept feeling into it. It vanished, and he said, love and dancing, that's all that's here. It just vanished. And this incredible feeling that he described as love and dancing. It was completely out of nowhere. It was a disconnect. It wasn't like it naturally arrived through some kind of pattern. The nervous system hit that point where, okay, it's gone. It really wasn't my fault. But it was recognized, not here, but here. And the recognition took the form of love and dancing. It's beautiful. Leora, if everyone felt like they belonged and were truly accepted, what percentage of problems do you think would be eliminated? 100? Yeah. If everyone felt like they belonged and were truly accepted by themselves, accepted, I accept myself, right? And I have created around me a circle, a community, a village, a tribe of people in which I am acknowledged and honored for who I am, and I am free to be who I am, even if they disagree. Because you can't extend it to the whole world. That doesn't work. You won't never be able to do that. It starts here, and then from here, you kind of have a little village of people that collect around you that also want that freedom from others to be themselves. Where you overlook differences because they're not as important as the similarities and not as important as they are. And your problems then would become, they wouldn't be problems. They'd simply be events that took place in life that these events naturally call forth from us resources that we didn't know we had. We wouldn't regard them as a problem. We'd regard them as, oh, what has to happen now? What does this moment need? What's the most loving thing I can do under this circumstance? And in that way, you become an involuntary healer. You just do it by your very presence. So truly accepted, do you think? Yeah, all of them would just, problems would cease to exist as a concept. Because that's all it is. There are no problems, truly. There are only events. But when we have been hurt, traumatized to the extent that we do not have access to all of our inner resources, when something comes up, we tend to go into our minds to try to find a solution. The mind calls it a problem, but the mind doesn't have a solution. It doesn't know what to do, right? It's not the right tool for the job, but bless its heart, it's going to do its best to try to do what it can, even though it's going to fail. So does that answer it for you, Leora? Thank you for that question. Thank you very much. Mystic, oh, so beautiful with your description. I started appreciating loving them all guilt, shame, fear. They're all faithful friends. Yes, I will sit with my body inspired by your method of EFT tapping. Thanks, Faith. Jennifer, when I practiced energy movement yesterday, I had hours of tingles through my body like lightning through my veins. I find dancing can create these tinglies too. Thank you. I always try to move the energy when it's stuck. I'll allow it to be there and know it may be okay to not have to move. Yes, I normally focus on that area that's not moving. I love you too. Well, it's okay. Give it loving attention. Don't try to dictate what it's supposed to do. Okay, we gotta move now. Come on. That's like that's like your gym coach at high school. It's like, come on, man, leave me alone. Push-ups, come on. It's like, no. If you feel like dancing and your body's in a dancing move, then dance, move. Just make it happen. And the body will respond by, oh, yes, thank you. Oh, it's tingles, yay. But if you run into something that's stuck, it needs loving attention. I can't remember exactly the quote now, and I don't have it handy with me. But it's a quote that Peter Levine said that trauma is the body remembering an event and trying to find a way out of it. The trauma was created by an event that you couldn't deal with and that happened in the absence of an empathetic witness. Think of all of these things as parts of you that got stuck because there was no empathetic witness. So what do you think you should become? The Empathetic Witness Club. So when there's something stuck, it's like, oh, part of me really needs attention. I don't need to dance right now. I need to give it attention. In exactly the way I did it with Dale and Faith. Put your attention on the stuckness itself. See what's there. Our minds put things into boxes. Oh, I'm stuck. And suddenly now, okay, it's stuck, it's done, and now the mind's trying to figure something out. But you set that aside and go, what does stuck feel like? What's actually here? And you find there's a whole lot more feeling and nuance and subtlety to it than it is just captured by that single word. It's like, the word Taj Mahal, right? that doesn't tell you anything about it. You know, oh, I've seen a picture. To be there, to stand, to touch it, right? Or the Sistine Chapel, right? The words aren't it. You are vastly more than any word. Your stuckness is more than any word, than the word stuck could possibly be. The real thing is life itself. The word is pointing towards something real. The word itself is not real. So nothing in your mind is real. This is the dashboard on the airplane. It is all a representation. The body is experiencing it. Now, it doesn't know what the world out there is either, but it is designed to be completely in harmony and one with that world. It came out of that world. It belongs in that world. It's comfortable in that world. It loves that world. They're one. So let it do its thing. And the stuckness may just disappear, because oftentimes it's really just the mind not getting what it wants. You go, oh, well, you know, you can't always get what you want. So just listen to a little Mick Jagger and you're on your way. Lily, if everyone felt like they truly belonged and were connected, understood, seen, liked, and allowed to be themselves, what percentage do you think would be eliminated? Oh, yeah, same question before. Did I answer it before, or do you want something more for that? Lily, is it the same person with a different name? Or did you become, or you do have multiple personalities tonight when we need to? And the other one has come now. Come out. Many thanks, G, so eloquently answered. Oh, thanks, David. Thanks, David. That's such a compliment when it comes from you guys. So thank you, David and Elaine. Hello, Peter. Everyone in this wonderful box. Savisek, I tend to slack off when I'm feeling good. Okay. If you want to, and if it piques your interest, dive into the feeling of slacking off. There's a feeling there that the mind has interpreted, and it says, we want to slack off. Let's go do something else. Before you do, right? And I'm not saying not do it, right? Do it. Go ahead, slack off. Do whatever you want, right? This is all about total freedom, right? But before you do, take a moment to honor yourself and that feeling and say, okay, what's this feeling all about? Take 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Right? Whatever it is you're going to do, it'll wait. You know, Netflix doesn't start till you press the start button. It's not like you have to. It's not like it's on a schedule. And then notice the feeling good. And when there is a feeling, I feel so good, man. I feel content, right? Right. In that, it's a really good thing. Okay, I'm going to take this contentment that I'm feeling, and I'm going to invite this other thing that's obviously not content because it wants to do something else, and I'm going to invite it into this field of contentment that I'm living in right now. Don't see him as being in conflict. Come on in. Come on in. Let's look. Let's take a look together. It's a wide open party. There are no crashers. Everybody's invited. Doors are open. In fact, there are no doors. Come on in. Dale, I guess it's more that I don't think of meditating versus thinking I don't want to. Well, okay, cool. Well, then just you're a computer engineer, software kind of guy. So just be really precise about it. Set an alarm. Normally you get up at 7. Get up at 6:45. Right? Brush your teeth. Sit down. And do a chant. Find a guided meditation you can go along with. Right? But make it a small little interjection so it becomes habitual. Because a lot of the times the not thinking about it is simply the momentum of the unconscious just grinding along. And we need to do what is called a pattern interrupt. And in fact, the program Lisa and I did together called Easing into Self-Care, and level 2, which is settling into self-care, that's the main thrust of it. are these little exercises you can inject during your day that break the momentum that cause us to be forgetful, to ignore things, to not have the energy or concentration or focus to make the changes we really want to make. It's not that you don't want to make them, right? It's just the energy is too diffused. So okay, I'm going to, you can do a qigong exercise. And what I would say is, if you can do something physical, right? But only do one thing, right? Just one. Don't do a bunch of extra. Don't do like sun salutation, all of that. If you're going to do it, just do one. Just do bowing. Okay? Bow 108 times. I went to a retreat with the Quantum School, and they do first thing in the morning. It's like 4:30 in the morning before you can do anything else. You go downstairs to do bowing, not bowing, full prostrations, right? You bow, you go down on your knees, you lay out straight, you put your hands up, and you stand up again, 108 times. I think of the number of sessions I went with, and I think twice I was actually able to get through all 128. And I was dripping with sweat. I needed a shower afterwards before the sit started. But anything that just kind of breaks it up. One of the things I recommend to people a lot is whenever you think of it, right? Don't have a schedule, nothing like that. Right? If this works better for you, try this. Whenever you think of it, just stop. Take 3 deep breaths. Breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth, and just make the exhale longer than the inhale. That's it. 3. Just do 3, and then go on about your business. That's enough to interrupt the pattern. It's beautiful. I gave that to one, very much a type A lady at the gym that I'm now renting an apartment from her. And within about 5 days, she actually slept 8 hours straight, which she hadn't for she couldn't remember the last time she had. Just it has that kind of effect. Your mileage may vary, right? But so don't try to force yourself into thinking about it or anything like that. I take back what I said earlier about making a schedule, because that's too rigid. Start with that. When I've given this exercise before, I've had people that put stickers on their cars, on the closet where they're going to get their coat out, and the bathroom mirror, on the door. So right before you go out, let's say you're going to go out shopping, and just stop. You get in the car, right, before you turn it on. Your wife will go, "What the hell are you doing?" You'll say, "Join me. See if that works, and let me know." I know it's going to work. And it's okay to feel good. Invite everything into the feel good feeling. Just, oh yeah, great. Why not? Where does that feeling happen? You can explore that too. Don't think of that as like a reward at the end of the rainbow, right? Oh wow, there's this great feeling of well-being here. Let me put my attention there. What's this? Ooh, what's this about? So it gets attention and it grows. Jennifer, haha, mine has shown me that if I'm searching, then I'm not it. I'm not being it. Yet yes, I see sometimes anxiety comes, and I listen to music and dance. Beautiful, beautiful. But if I'm searching, then I'm not it. You're always it. A better way to think of it is like, oh, I'm searching, so I'm not it. Is, oh, look, it is searching. Look at that. Because I'm what I'm seeking. Right? My true identity, my true being is what I am seeking. I can't be anything else. So I'm seeking. True being is seeking. So right now, I'm experiencing my true being as a seeker. Okay. But I'm still the true being. No matter what form appears, I'm still the true being. Right? You could say the same thing that, oh, I'm in a male body, so I'm not it. I have blue eyes. I'm not it, right? Oh, I've got white hair now. It's better when it was, brown and curly. Well, it's still kind of curly, but yeah, but more curly, right? Because there's rules here. So I'm obviously not it. You could put it. You see, it's completely arbitrary where we put these things. We got these things that, oh, you're searching. Stop searching. Searching is an energy. It's there. It's part. Would you find anything if you didn't search? If you lost your keys and just said, "Oh, I'm not going to be the searcher because then I'm not it," they're not going to run over to you. These are spiritual platitudes that are obsolete. Right? Throw them out. They're not useful. And just say, anxiety came. The energy of seeking came. Oh, there's the seeking mind. Well, thank you. My God, what a great job. If it hadn't been for you, I wouldn't be listening to all this. I wouldn't have had these revelations. I wouldn't have had these openings. Oh, thank you so much. And you know what? You hang around just as long as I need you. And you'll know when you can leave. It's just another aspect of us. Love it. Savvy. I had that it's not my fault moment in my 40s regarding abuse by my father. It totally changed trajectory of my healing journey. These aha moments have happened over and over since. Healing is a process, it seems, for me anywhere. No, it is for everyone. And anybody who's ever done any kind of healing work with me, especially around EFT, it's one of the first questions. Things come up about something, I go, what if it wasn't my fault? Immediately something reacts in the nervous system because it's a deep underlying assumption. And it's not without its reasons. Because when a child is in a circumstance when they are being abused, they cannot impute guilt to the giants around them. They're absolutely... Oh, these cushions keep sliding off the chair. They're absolutely vulnerable, weak. And there's nothing they can do about it. And so, what happens? It's my fault. I'm not lovable. I'm not good enough. And so we try to be good enough. But just introducing the idea. And notice, when I work with people, I never say, it wasn't your fault, because the nervous system go, yeah, it was. Instead I go, let's look at this. What if it wasn't? If it was, yeah, you got it covered. You know exactly what to do. But what if it wasn't? And, when we really believe something strongly enough, we believe it into existence. We experience it. It shapes our perceptions, and that's our world. So if I assumed it was my fault, I'd be acting and feeling it was my fault, even if it actually wasn't. So let's look. What if it wasn't my fault? What if I'm not to blame? What if this is just what happened to me because they didn't know how to love, they didn't know how to take care of me, they didn't love themselves? I don't even really need to worry about why they did it. It's not my problem. But what if it was them? What if I am lovable, but just not for them? Putting it in the form of questions like that invites the nervous system to come out and take a look. If you try to make them like an affirmation, it'll react. It'll push it away. It'll dig its heels in. And remember, it's been doing this for 500 million years, so it's really good at it. That's a long time to practice that. They say 10,000 hours and you're a master. Okay, talk about 500 million years then. And this is all that's going on. But all of that is available to you as expressive power as these things begin to fall away. And it is a process. There's no such thing as an explosion, right? There's no such, every now and then something miraculous happens, but don't count on those. Those are very, very rare. It is a process. And this is part of the paradox of non-dual inquiry, because there's no healing process for the self. It's the self. It's the infinite being. It's empty. It's in all places at once. It's outside of space and time. There's nothing for it to heal. So it is the experience that the true self is having, And in that experience, in order for there to be experience, there has to be this yin-yang, this back and forth, this night and day, this sickness and health, this love and hate. All of it, without opposites, there is no experience. And so we now embrace it. And so, within the context, there's learning going on, even though the self doesn't need to. It's what's being learned. There's nothing. It's the infinite right now, but it is the potential for an infinite amount of form to be given birth to. Infinite, which means it's always going to be this dance of opposite, right? And so there's no limits. It's not like, oh, it's got to be this good side, right? Pick up any stick and you get both sides at the same time. There's no way not to. Right? It's just learning which one represents better the nature of the absolute. To the absolute, there's no opposite. It is nothing but infinite power. So you could say that infinite presence and power is the only reality. You could say good is the only reality, and you'd be correct. But to the absolute, because there's no opposite, you can't say it's good. If everything's blue, there is no blue, right? And so, but yes, it is infinitely good. But for infinite goodness to be manifested, it has to be manifested with a suppositional opposite. The light has to have a darkness. If it's all light, you can't see a damn thing. There's nothing to see. There has to be shadow. And contour and then color and all sorts of things like that. So, how did I get off on that? Oh, healing journey, yeah. How can I come to terms with my shadow, says Zach. Talk to it. Think of the shadow as not something you have to get rid of, but an aspect of yourself that didn't get an empathetic witness and now needs to be loved back into wholeness. If you think of it like think of the shadow, instead of the shadow, make it a rescue dog. Everybody's heart breaks open for a rescue dog. I love to watch videos on YouTube, of them rescuing animals. There's a lot of being rescued in the Ukraine. There's several people that are going all over the place getting the dogs that have just been abandoned because the people had to leave the town. And you can see that they're a shadow of themselves, right? They become domesticated. They're one of us. We're their pack. And so if they're standoffish to us, that's completely unnatural for them. And it's because they've just been barely surviving. But there's a natural curiosity there. So somebody comes, some run away for a bit, some they actually have to kind of almost corner to be able to get to them. But some of them just stay a distance away, maybe 50 feet, sometimes a long distance. And if they can't get any closer, what they do is they'll just leave some food and walk away, and they'll go 50 feet away. And the dog will come get it. But little by little, it begins to trust again and gets curious until finally they're touching them, holding them, and they'll even let them pick them up and take them where they take them to the vet, and they get them all cured, and they get them trained back into knowing what love is and being a dog again, and then they find a forever home for them. It's if we treated ourselves the same way, all these parts of ourselves, right, rather than my shadow self. And if it's okay to say it, the shadow self, but what is it? It's a shadow of you. It's you. The outline is you. You could also think of it as the cat the cat that goes to the wall in a cartoon. They always leave their own shape in the wall. It's a cat, but in its negation. It's a part of you that needs to be loved. That's it. And if you can see it like that, and drop the label of shadow. Okay, shadow, it's a shadow. That's the first word. So now take that and focus on the energy, the feeling that the word shadow is representing. So you're not dealing with it as a concept. You're dealing with it as a real human experience. And now you give that the energy, because that's the real deal. You're not dealing with a thought anymore. You're dealing with the actual shadow or rescue dog or whatever metaphor you want to use. And by giving it that attention and with real curiosity, that's love. And it will, just like a rescue dog, it will respond. Maybe not right away, but it will. Eventually it's like, well, shadow, God, well, there's a whole lot more to it than shadow. There's some pain, there's sadness, there's tears, spontaneous tears can arise, all sorts of things can happen. But little by little, the shadow comes home. And comes right smack dab into you. Oh my God, it was me all along. A part of me I had to abandon. And I'm just going to love myself back into health. I will be my own empathetic witness. Does that help, Zach? Oh boy, look at that. Oh, we hit the end. Good, because I had 5 minutes of official time. Right. Savvy. Took me 20 years of therapy to get that aha moment. Tapping an energy here works much quicker for me, thankfully. Yes. Yes, it does. Which I'm really happy to see so many therapists that I know. I have a lot of therapists for students. and there's a lot that are in energy healing. They're doing EMDR and a bunch of stuff that's now regarded as energy psychology, which is not, which is still on the fringe, but is little by little getting more accepted. EMDR is much more accepted. EFT is in the final phases of actually being recognized as an official therapeutic for various conditions, which means eventually insurance will cover it. It's kind of like chiropractic. Once it had hit that point where it was legitimized, it still took several years before insurance companies would start paying for it. People wanted it. That's what happened. So, beautiful. Lily, hi, I'm back. So what is the relationship between feel connected, loved, etc., and knowing who you are? Thank you. You are the feeling of being of love, connection, and the like. And don't put too much stock in that, who am I, because it can really become quite mental. You are something that you can't actually know, but you can experience. Every time I feel something, there's two things there. There's the thing that I'm feeling and me feeling it. The thing that's being felt is forever fluctuating and changing and dancing and up and down. The thing that's feeling it is always the same. The moment I try to articulate it, it now becomes another experience, right? And so I can't perceive it directly, and yet it's me. That's who you are. That is, the dials on the plane can't tell you what is out there. What the world as it is. Your senses cannot tell you what the world is as it is. Consciousness, the ultimate experience, the ultimate first person, the field of pure subjectivity is what is. That is the reality that we call out there. That's who you are. And our mind wants to look for some object, that's all. And that's fine, that's what minds do. Bully for you. You go, oh, okay, that's just what minds do, but it can't possibly know me because I'm not a thing that can be known. But I know me because I am me. My experience of my being and my knowing, my consciousness of my being are one. And there's happiness there. That's how it works. Thank you. Oh, you're welcome, Lily. Paula, you don't always get what you want. If you try sometimes, you just might find. Get what you need. It's a great song. My God, what a great band. Thank you, G. Intrigued by your choice of a cross for your earring. Well, it's actually an ankh, which is the Egyptian cross. The cross is I love the symbol of the cross. I could do a whole 2-hour workshop just on the cross and the appearance it's made in so many different cultures. What's different about the Egyptian cross is it is a cross, but you see a little circle on the top represents the sun. In their case, it'd be Ra. And so it's just it's another twist, a play on the cross. Just there's all sorts of different plays, but the cross has always been. The cross is a symbol that appears in almost every culture. It's a perception of the universe as this intersection of opposites, the past and the future, heaven and earth. And right smack dab in the middle of it is the archetype of the king. This is the realm of the king, the center of all opposites. That's you. That's what this means. CM, I listen to you and keep having revelations in answer to my questions regarding them. Oh, good. Yay. And I write down all my insights to reflect on them and not forget them after the live is over. Wonderful. What an honor. Thank you. Thank you, CM. It really touches me. Marcel, I have to go, but thank you for this great satsang. Gee, love you all listening and watching. Bye-bye, Marcel. Oh, it's late there. Jennifer, yes, thank you for always tapping. Pointing back, bless you, Baba. Point back. Mary Sykes, so loving this part of satsang. Thank you. You're welcome. Welcome, Mary. You were quiet today. Very good. David and Elaine, much appreciation and gratitude, G. That tea time just flew by. It did. And it seemed like, just wow, where did it go? And this stayed hotter much longer. I still like that name, Tea with G. I like it better than satsang. It's much more homey. This is my big room, my big kitchen where I invite you all for tea. Ava, thank you, G, for today. Amazing satsang. You're wonderful. Jennifer, beautiful satsang. Thank you, Baba, and everyone for being here. Savvy, EMDR and EFT have helped me tremendously. Yep. I've used some of the techniques from EMDR. Because just following it with your eyes. Gary Craig, when he developed EFT, he used to have this other thing he called the 9 gamut, where he would tap in different places, and he would actually do some eye movement. And then have people count and sing happy birthday, a bunch of different kinds of things. Kind of fell out of favor. I've actually used it a couple of times. But nobody uses it much anymore. But it really is a kind of thing, when it feels really stuck, you can kind of release the whole system and kind of bring you back to the place of equanimity. Savvy. So, Carl, would love a cross workshop. Thanks. Thank you. I have so many ideas, and I put them out there, and then I get only like 8 people to show up, and I can't make a living that way. So what I should do is I should put it out there, put a pre-order, and if I get 20 people, I do it, and if I don't, I don't. Because these things are, I have so much information accumulated over the years now. It's not that much work, but it is kind of a lot of work when if nobody shows. So I hope some of you will take up the Ribu Gita. Let's see if that link, let me try it, https homeschool dot, oops, no, that's not it, school dot thinkific.com/course/RIBHU. Because right now there's only like 4 people signed up for this one. I'm going to do it, right? No matter what, because I just love this subject so much. Tell me if that one works. Hopefully that one works, because I love the subject so much, teaching of the Ribu Gita, which is a pure, non-dual treatise right out of the Upanishads. And it's just marvelous. The first time I ran across it, it was a reading from Samaneri Jayasara, many of you are familiar with. And I got the book. And I went over it so many times, listened to her. I haven't had the time to do a reading of it myself. I'm hoping to get it done before the class, which is a week from today, next Sunday. So that one didn't work. God damn it! Can you wait? Everybody, just wait 1 second. Let me get. I can go over and find out what it is. Where's Lisa when I need her? She usually looks these things up for me. Coming, mother. Okay, school, writing process, courses, Ribu Gita. Where are you, love? Where is Ribu? There's Ribu. Click. Settings. Courses. I don't know what was wrong, but... Oh, I forgot the Gita part. Stupid me. Okay, here it is. Stupid me. I forgot the Gita part. So anyway, yeah, that's coming up next week, and it's just going to be lovely. We're just going to really... It's not a... I'm not going to try to do a formal treatise or anything like that. We're just going to explore together things, these deep statements, you know. And this is a work that's 2,500 years old. I mean, it's just, you know, it's just amazing. So, and it helps me make a living. So, thank you all for being here, as always. Love you all. Time for me to have some lunch. I haven't eaten anything today. So, I love you all.